Well, I have Dr. Sian Proctor. She's a geoscience professor, and well, most of all, she's now a US Science Envoy. And I want to talk to her about art, but most importantly, we know her because she's an ex-astronaut. Welcome to NSN's recordings.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's really great to be here.
Well, I think today with you, we've got to talk about education and education in space, and how do we go ahead to train a new generation of people like you?
You know, that's a great point. I've been a community college professor for the last 25 years, and a lot of it starts with inspiration. You've got to inspire them to want to learn more. And you do that by, well, opening up access. If you believe that you can become an astronaut and go to space, then that inspires you to want to learn more about the career paths and the disciplines that you have to learn in order to achieve that. Because I think, I'm an example of that. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut, but that dream slipped away because of little things that, I had misconceptions about. I wanted to be a military aviator, got glasses when I was 16. I thought, well, if I couldn't fly then and go into the military that way, then I wouldn't be able to become an astronaut, because I just had this perception that you had to be an Ivy League school and super smart, a rocket scientist to be able to go. But then as I got older, I realized that that's not the case. You really need to be inquisitive and an explorer and a problem solver. And I was able to come back into that dream of wanting to be an astronaut. And so I want, to help inspire kids to know that whatever your interests are, that can lead you to not only a career in space, but potentially also going to space.
Yeah, and you did.
I did it.
And you're an advocate of what's called a Jedi future in space. What is that?
Yeah, a Jedi future in space, or Jedi space, is where we all actively strive to create a just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive space for all of humanity. A lot of times we talk about space for everyone, but actually making space for everyone, that's where Jedi space comes in. To me, it's a Star Wars acronym with a Star Trek meaning. The whole idea that we would boldly go together and take on this new amazing frontier.
Well, you talked about it in the beginning, but what is the role of an educator in making space more accessible?
Oh, education is the foundation, and particularly teachers and the people who can go into the classroom and inspire. If you can uplift an educator to be, passionate about space and all of the things that are coming down the pipeline in the next decade, then they will go into their classroom and they can inspire, hundreds of kids and thousands of kids over their teaching career. And that's the goal, really, is how do you get to, mass amounts of groups to be able to be inspired? And it's through the teachers, it's through education. And so for me, it's always been an important part. I was 16 years old, well, almost 16. I was 15 when the Challenger accident happened, and I remember watching it vividly on TV. I stayed home that day, pretended to be sick because I wanted to watch it. And then, of course, Krista McAuliffe was on that, the first teacher selected to go to space. And that had an impact on me. And I think part of the reason why I became an educator was because of that. And then to be able to go to space, I actually flew her silver dollar in space because I wanted to have that part of me, that legacy when I was a teenager, how it influenced me, and then to be able to have this opportunity.
So how do you bring together this passion for space that you've just been talking about, and there you saw somebody that died in space? Is it a fear you overcome, or what is it in you that go ahead?
No, I've never been afraid when it comes to pursuing, endeavors that I'm passionate about and have a real connection and love to. And so people always ask me, was I afraid the day I launched into space? And I said, no, I was ready to go. I was well trained and prepared for the mission. And I had complete confidence in both me and my crew and our extended team of SpaceX. And I think that that's what it's about. A lot of times people have a fear of going to space, but it's almost like when you're not driving and then you learn to drive a car and then it becomes a normal everyday activity, or the same for flying. You know, how do you get onto that plane and go? And I think once we get space to that level where it's got that comfort, where you feel confident that you can go on and take on this challenge, then you know we've really made it, I feel like.
So this year you are a US Science Envoy, and what are your goals with that?
Oh boy, you know, my goals really come from that national level of wanting to inspire, prepare, and employ the next generation of STEM workforce. And what that means is that, again, you start with inspiring, being able to share my story and my pathway and how it was non-traditional, and talking to people on this global platform about how to get, you know, their citizens space ready, or what I call flight ready. How do you get people prepared and inspired? And then training. You know, United States, we're a leader in the space industry, and how do we? And I think we really, through NASA, set us up for success, because through our federal government and the way we manage things, it's open source. People can get information, they can get access to satellite imagery, they can get these things that can inspire and train, you know, and hopefully employ the future workforce. We have a job shortage right now, and I think one of the things is that if we all kind of rally around this idea of space for all, that there is enough space for all of us. We just need to cooperatively work together to achieve that Jedi space. Then we can really bring humanity together the way that we want to.
Well, the topic of this forum is space diplomacy, and you've also taught in China, and you said you enjoyed your time there, and you talked a lot about collaboration more at a person-to-person level. So what do you think, how can this help in space diplomacy?
Oh, you know, I think the International Space Station is the pinnacle of, you know, working together and diplomacy. You think about all of the nations that came together just to build the International Space Station, and then you look at all, you know, the astronauts that come from different countries and spend time there, and the ways that we're able to get along and cooperate. And I think that's a model for the future as we go to the moon, Mars, and beyond. The, you know, Artemis Accords are an excellent example of that. Like, how do we get nations coming together, wanting to work cooperatively to build a better future for, you know, us as a nation, individual nations, but also collectively for humanity. And space does that. Space brings us together.
Well, with the current geopolitical tensions, do you think US-China collaboration is possible?
I do believe that a US-China collaboration is possible. I went to China a long time ago, but it was a life-changing experience. I had all of these misconceptions of what I thought China was going to be, and then I got there and I realized by doing a faculty exchange at the university and teaching with these students that, you know, the faculty and the students, they were just like my colleagues and my students. They had the same dreams, the same hopes, the same aspirations. And it really made me realize that fundamentally we're all the same. We all just want to have a good life for ourselves, our family, our friends, and our community. And that's why if we work and strive to create that just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive space for all of humanity, we can bring ourselves together.
Well, something that people might not know, you're also an Afrofuturism artist. What is that?
That is correct. Well, I'm wearing a piece of my art right now. I actually won my seat to space as an artist and a poet. I wrote a poem called Space to Inspire, and I was given the opportunity to paint in space while I was up there. And so I just use the theme of space and me as a Black woman to be able to inspire and create images and themes that captures people's imagination. A lot of my art involves dancing, and people say, are you a dancer? Did you take ballet? And I'm like, no, but don't we want to dance our way through the universe? I mean, to me, seeing an astronaut dance on the moon is like the ultimate to me, because that dance is such an expression of humanity and a feeling of joy. And to express that in space is what I'd love to see. So I do that through my art.
Well, we can't have the first mission pilot for SpaceX, Inspiration 4, the first all-civilian orbital mission, and you also the first female commercial astronaut spaceship pilot, and the only African-American woman ever to be a mission pilot. We can't have you here with asking you, what is it like in space? You know, I've been asked, I just asked you, is it like swimming in water, or is it much better than that?
It is so much better. Everybody should float in their lifetime. The way I think about it is, it's like Peter Pan from, the classic Peter Pan and Wendy, and how they just are able to move and float across the room. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like that grace of ballet is part of that. Like, you can just extend and float and go wherever you want, and you don't feel, a lot of people think that it's that falling sensation. There is no falling sensation. You are just free to float around the room.
So what was the most transformative thing you experienced while in space?
I'd have to say it was discovering for myself Earth light. Have you heard of Earth light before?
No.
Okay, we know about sunlight, we know about moonlight, but nobody knows about Earth light, and that is the most beautiful light there is. And so what I realized when I was up there looking at our planet, that I was illuminated, and I thought, whoa, why am I so bright? And I realized it was Earth light. Think about how you feel when you step outside and you see a full moon rising and you're walking in the moonlight. I can see a smile coming on your face, right? Well, now think about being in low Earth orbit and being bathed in Earth light and how that would make you feel. And so when I think about the overview effect and how astronauts come back transformed from their experience, I think Earth light is a big component of that. So I am trying to bring Earth light down to Earth.
Dr. Sian Proctor, thank you so much for speaking to National Security News.
Thank you so much for having me.